Okay, there are a few new forms. There are a lot of revises. When we check the bottom of the form, there is always either revised with the date or new. There are a lot of new forms, but most of them are, I wouldn't say useless because we're going to use them, but not as important as some other ones. So I won't waste time with all those not important forms. But there are some that is unique. I am printing it extra ones, and I will give you one of each. And the rest of them, I will go over, but I'm not going to print extra because they are not going to be used as often as the others. Okay, so the ones that is important, we'll talk about more. And the first step, I'll go over forms, clauses, and conditions. And the second half, we go over the forms. Is that okay? So this way, we cover everything. When we become real estate agent, I think we should know most of the clauses by heart because in the old days, we used to write them by hand. There was no such technology, computer, when I became an agent anyway, real estate person, no cell phones, nothing. So everything had to be done by hand, all the calculations. And in some exams, they wouldn't even let us use calculators.
And we did our offers by
Pardon?
hand. We did
our offers by hand, okay? Yes, and there wasn't correspondence, there wasn't online, because we didn't have anything online those days. This is going back 43 years, 1974, when I got licensed. So everything had to be manually prepared, and which we learned a little bit better, or more, I should say. Now, since everything is high-tech, you know, everything you press a button, it's printed, you know, and then you can copy and paste everything. It's a lot easier, but somehow we are missing if we need immediate attention and there is no manager or there is the officers close. Thank you very much. And on the other hand, it's a very risky business if you don't know how to handle property. So there are times we can be you know, liable for a lot of damages, and therefore. 380. Okay, these are my original. Therefore, we have to be very careful how we prepare the offer. And not only the offer, the listing, but the listing is always can be modified. If you have a boo-boo on the listing, there is a small mistake. Next day you realize it, you tell Brenda or you tell your manager, they can go to the system and change it, whatever the mistake is, before it becomes a problem. But the offers are given as soon as they are accepted or rejected. So everyone has a copy. Once it gets accepted, then it's very late and difficult to get everybody's copies and then change them. Then you realize that there is a mistake either with the date or with the name or whatever the case is, then it's too late to get everything back. So we have to be careful from the beginning. Now, these are the most important forms that we use when we are preparing an offer. Agreement of purchase and sale. So 801 is the newest one. Everything else is probably we remember. 801 is the one that we submit when there is an offer, or we expect if we are on the listing side, is the information, when was it sent to us, what time was it, and the email, the signature portion, everything. The buyer side has to be filled out and signed. The seller side, no. And it's not a mandatory form, but if you are on a multiple offer, I think this is a very good form, and it's demanded by the RICO for minimum 1 year. You have to keep this form in case there is an investigation. If your client says that I was not treated properly, my offer went in, but how do I know there was 5 other offers and somebody got it cheaper? Seller makes a decision on acceptance. We don't. There are times you give an offer on a property full price, million, I give example, the property sells 950. Now you become suspicious saying that why I give $1 million offer as somebody is offering 950 and mine did not get accepted. That means there is something in between. They could be, or it's seller's decision. Seller was at home, they like their family more, they prefer that that family moves in their house, or their other conditions were more acceptable to the seller. Closing, no condition, financing, inspection. So they prefer 20, 30, $40,000 less, and they give it to somebody else. So your client wants to investigate. 801 is the form that RICO gets involved, and then they get all the information out of it. Okay? Yes.
It says not mandatory.
Yes.
I always assumed that it was mandatory.
No, you cannot force someone to send this, or else I'm not going to present your offer. You know what I'm saying? So if I am on the buyer side, you cannot force me to send this form, or else you won't present my offer. You present my offer to your seller. That's not a mandatory form, but it's very helpful. Everybody should use it to eliminate any future problem. Now, why is that mandatory? When I am sending you my offer, okay, this is meant one page, all the information. If I don't have this form, then I have to keep the complete set in our system for 1 year. So usually the complete set is like 10 pages between your Schedule A, agreement of purchase and sale, all the attachments, Schedule B plus confirmation of cooperation and representation. You may end up having 10 pages in your system, in the admin system, rather than having only one. But can you refuse my offer? No, you can't. I say I forgot to get it signed and the buyer is gone. Here is my offer. So you cannot hold my offer hostage because I don't have it.
So let's say I'm in a situation where I think someone's faking offers. I'm on the buying end. They're on the listing end. And, they tell me that there's another offer on board. And I'm like, all right, in my head, I'm gonna, call Rico and try and get the 801s. And does he have to give me the 801 from the other offer?
The 801 is only inspected by Rico, not by you. Rico will get involved, not you. They won't give you personal information or private information because you are requesting or your buyer. You have to, your buyer has to go complaining with you to Rico, and then Rico can open the case and ask the listing brokerage, we want all 801s, and you may say, I don't have, some people didn't give me 801. They're gonna ask you to give the whole package.
Yeah.
You either have to have this or 801. Either this or the complete package. Now, the top part here is not very clear, but you have it, you know what it is. The top part is have two sections, all right? The top portion with all the information and email and what time you receive the offer or what time you're sending the offer and the signature. And then it goes to the seller. If there is a rejection or sign back, this all comes back. Then the bottom portion is identical to the top portion that is used for counter offer. Okay, then at the end there are comments over here, and listing agent keeps this. The company has to keep it for 1 year minimum. Yes.
So here we have only 1 and 2 times irrevocable. If it's more than that,
If it's more than that, you either attach a schedule or make a note at the back, or take a second one. Usually 1 or 2 is enough. But if it's going back 5 times, then you're gonna put a schedule or make your notes, okay? So, agreement of purchase and sale. This is the paper that brings us money. Listings are always good on the shelf, but if the listings don't sell, then what good it is? You have to, at my beginning of my career, I had one agent in my office. This is going 43 years ago. Every month he had 20 listings. Every month, brand new 20 listings. He would get them. I don't know how. He would go door knocking. He would go advertising himself. But every month, none of them was selling because the way he was getting them, overpricing them. If a house that I have is worth 800,000, and somebody tells me I'm going to make sure you get 1 million, obviously I put it on the market. And 15 days, 20 days after, I take it off the market because nothing happens. So listings are good. It's the name of the game. I'm not suggesting that nobody should work on listings, but if they don't sell, what good it is? You have 100 listings, but none of them is selling. So if they are good listings, price well, location-wise, then you will have a fortune. But without this, listings are no good because you have to receive this or you have to submit this to another company listing. So this is the one that we have to make sure we are doing correctly. Yesterday I had an issue here. condition expiry, which I'm gonna come when I'm going over the clauses, remind me. I don't wanna spoil the subject now. So let's go with this first. We wanna make sure all the names are correct and check the MPAT. And don't depend on MPAT's information. They are not liable for their mistake. Geo warehouse, they are not always correct. We've seen surveys different than geo warehouse, frontage and depth, many times. If there are no surveys, you can use the geo warehouse as guidelines, but don't depend on it. It could be 5 feet larger or shorter, or 2 feet bigger or smaller. I'm telling you, there are so many mistakes with geo warehouse, and they cannot be held responsible for their mistake because you're assuming somebody else's information. And do not copy somebody else's listing information if you don't have it. So always try to figure out yourself. Neighbors, they usually, in the old days, they usually made, how are you doing? They usually had more than one property on the survey. So neighbors are the good source to obtain. Now, lately, they got smarter. They only put your house on the survey. But I have a house in Aurora, it's 16 years old. I have about 2 people on this side and 2 people on the other side. Now, if one of my neighbors lost their survey and they're gonna list the property, they can borrow mine and I give a photocopy, they can use it because lot sizes, everything is in there. New ones, no. Now, some municipalities are holding surveys, it's $15, $20. You may not find everything. And then we have surveyors. I think they come and meet you here, and then they may be able to give you $100, $150 a copy. Surveys are the best source for lot sizes, okay? And geo warehouse is only information, not 100% reliable source, right? So,
Sorry.
yes.
So if we have a listing and that listing has a deed, it says it's 40 by 110 and we don't have any survey, can we rely on what?
You can rely on it, yeah. Deeds are reliable, but that doesn't mean the surveys are the 100%. Anything beyond the survey, it could be an error, secretarial error, clerical error, so you can say this is 100%.
So the agent is still liable for if the deed is not?
Yeah, we are always liable, regardless, because you put the information that from the deed, who prepared it, maybe it was 30 years ago, a clerk did it, and she's not even in business anymore, even if she is, too bad. So we can measure lots, you gotta be very careful, not electronically, obviously. You can measure lots if you know the lot size, the lot lines, and if you have a fence, at least it gives you 95% accuracy. If I am having a lot of 50 by 120, and it looks like bigger than that, and if I go fence to fence and it's about 50 and a half or 49 and a half, well, that means geo warehouse is close to that or is correct. But if I have 55 here and 60 on the geo warehouse, either the fence is put wrong or geo warehouse is wrong. So you gotta be careful.
You can always put according to where you got the source.
Lots are not usually according to other things. You can say all measurements are from builder's plan, or lot sizes. You cannot say lot sizes from builder's plan. Lot has to be very accurate. Okay, within maybe few inches up and down. More than the depth, I worry about the width. Okay, more than the depth because that's where the money is. All right, deposit. Now we put all the information: buyer, seller, and the address. Now there is a confusion on which side of the property. The property is on which side of the street. Do you know? Let's give an example. This 8854 Younger Street. If I am listing this property, I'm going to ask personal, which side of the street we are? East side. Okay, we said east side. This side?
Oh, yeah, west side.
West side. West side. Why did we say east?
The north.
North is here.
Okay.
Am I correct? Yeah, north is that side. Okay. So how did you figure out east? I want to correct the.
Because if we put the north this side, so our office on the east side, right?
No. If you're facing east, when you go around the door, sun is rising from there.
Oh, yeah.
But we are on the west side of this. okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are facing, it's where you are built. It's a lot of people get confused, and I don't blame them because the way it's written,
Yes, it's fronting on,
fronting on.
fronting
Like,
on.
you know, it's kind of a tricky question. So we are on the west side,
Okay.
okay? If we are on Il Fornello and we are selling that, we are on the east side. It doesn't matter where you are facing, you just figure out where is your building located on the west side of the street, all right?
Oh my God, that's.
So that has to be corrected. That's fine. Purchase price in numeral N. Now deposit. Why do we have to put on $1 million, 50,000 deposit, and then the deal doesn't go through? We have to beg the listing agent. Please, my people need to buy somewhere else. They need the money. It takes sometimes a week to 10 days to get a mutual release signed. If your offer is unconditional and there are multiple offers, I'm not suggesting you should make it unconditional. If your buyer prefers not to lose that property, 99.9% sellers prefer unconditional offers, and you're somehow relaying that to your buyer. You say, listen, it's your choice. I can put inspection, mortgage, status certificate of an apartment, or lawyer's opinion, but there are 7 other offers. You like this property, you have to decide whether you want any one of this condition or you're comfortable. If it says, I have 50% cash, the bank already approved me, the house is good, my father-in-law is Italian, and he checked the property while we are, viewing it, everything is perfect. Italians are good for, saying everything is okay, the roof is good. I am very comfortable. If that's the case, you go 50,000 and certified, okay, cash, even more, 60,000, okay, on $1 million, 5% over, right? So, but if you're gonna go conditional and you don't have a very strong offer, there are other offers or no offers, and you are conditional, 2 things, inspection and mortgage. I would not suggest that your buyer should put $50,000 or $60,000 deposit, and then you're not as strong as you're supposed to be with your mortgaging, and the house is not going to pass the inspection, then you're going to beg everybody for your money. My suggestion is this, and it usually works if you are one-to-one, not on multiple. We are not talking about multiple offers. Put $5,000 or $10,000 here, okay, and then you put in a Schedule A further deposit upon removal of the condition. If I am a listing agent, I would accept that. Because it's a conditional offer anyway, whether I have 100,000 deposit or 50,000 or 5,000. At the end of the day, mortgage condition, anybody can give up. Inspection, if it's done properly, the buyer can change his mind. So why bother? Take the 5,000 or 10,000 and remaining upon removal of the condition, which is 5 business days, the worst scenario.
Upon acceptance or upon removal?
Upon removal of the conditions, okay? So upon acceptance, 5,000 or 10,000, depending the price, and then removal of the condition, another 40 or 45,000.
Or first, upon acceptance, after the.
After removal of the
We don't know
condition.
they accept offer or no.
No, that is upon acceptance, that's what I'm saying. So upon acceptance, 5 or 10,000, upon removal of the condition, another 40 or 45 or 50,000. So there is no reason for a seller not to accept that offer because it's a conditional offer. You're showing good faith. If you go 4 hours north, $500 will buy a house. You know,
So true.
yeah, it's 3 or 4 hours north. There is no such thing, 5% minimum deposit. That's in Toronto or a surrounding area. You go to Montreal, I can buy you a house for $500 deposit.
But the buyer, they should know, the seller is, accept the offer and follow up he or she can get the mortgage.
Well, seller will accept the offer and the buyer will work on the mortgage in the event. We are on the buyer side now, okay?
Yeah.
In the event my buyer has a problem receiving the commitment from the bank or the clean paper from the inspector, then you don't have to beg the agent, the other part, come and sign this mutual release. You still have 40,000 in the bank to go and put another property, another offer, right? So this way, you have the luxury of the deposit in your hand. If you were tied up with your money $50,000. There are other opportunities where you're gonna get the money. Then you have to start borrowing. That's the idea behind it. Okay, so we go with the irrevocable date. Yes. Nabil.
This 10,000 or the $1 million property may itself be seller.
No.
I find that there is a, the drop menu as otherwise described. I put the 50,000 and as otherwise described, and I put in Schedule A 10,000 upon acceptance and the remaining after the removal.
However you word it, that's fine
It
with
has a
me.
better.
Yeah, however you word it,
psychological-
maybe psychological, you see 5 or 10,000 at the first, but if the listing agent is there doing his job properly, it shouldn't be any problem.
I think if I was a listing agent, I don't think I would accept an offer like that.
No?
Personally, no, because then you're tying up the property for 5 days.
You are
Well,
anyway.
regardless.
I would
even if you-
only do 3 days. That's what we do. Like
Let's
on our
go-
real estate team, we don't allow people to do 5 days. We
Let's
only
go,
do
let's go
3.
back one step. Let's say you have $40,000 or $50,000 and you have 2 conditions. Aren't you tying the property for 5 or 3 or 4 days and it's still
Yeah.
conditional? You know?
I guess I would do 3.
Most of them used to use 5 days conditional.
Most are, but
Yeah,
for our
change
team,
it.
we don't do
Market
5.
changes your condition dates.
The days on condition, it's variable. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's built in like 110%, you have to put every time 5. I seen 7,
7
I
days.
seen 3, I seen 5. I mean, that is a negotiable between your seller and the buyer. But the deposit part, whether you have 40,000 or 10,000, if there are conditions in the, if it's unconditional, I would not even look at it, okay? Multiple offer, you want the property, and I want certified check. If there are 6 offers, whoever gives me, I sold my property 7,000 lower than the better offer because the lady who brought the offer to me was a cash, like money or bankrupt, $50,000. So I'd rather get 5,000 less today than 10,000 more tomorrow, and they change their mind overnight. And that momentum that you have multiple offers, it may never come back again. Because once the property is back on the market, you don't get those people anymore, okay? But again, it's all how you bring it to the table, if how you present it. If you're doing your presentation in person, and you explain that, there are 2 conditions, and if your seller is uncomfortable, that's fine, you can sign it back to 40, and then let the other agent worry about it. But 90% of the times, if I am representing the buyer on the buyer agency, I hate to tie their 50 or 60 or $100,000 for 5 days and then beg the other party to sign. And there are cases, whether they win or not, some sellers become very nasty and they don't sign mature release. At least we had a case over here, 25 days they held $40,000 in they play game between the seller and the listing agent, and the buyers were really upset. 25 days. So you cannot go with a gun and sign it. And at the end, we went to a lawyer, our buyer went to a lawyer, and the lawyer wrote a letter, very nasty, and then they released the money. It's going to be court order or mutual release. There are times the sellers are, I don't know, they get upset.
They don't have to release it though, don't they? They can hold on to it.
Pardon?
They can hold
Well,
on.
they're going to get sued. They can hold on to it, but for how long? Then there is a court order. It's going to cost everybody money, and that money will become seller's responsibility at the end of the day. They cannot hold on
So
forever.
it's just for strong arming, trying to get your.
They cannot hold on forever. There is going to be a solution
But
there.
the legal precedent is on the deposit being kept with the selling brokerage. and
Yes,
distributing
but if
it.
there is no signature on the maturity by the seller, you cannot take the deposit out. It doesn't matter how long, how much, it has to be a seller's agreement on it, or else you cannot. So second page, we make sure all the chattels are in, fixtures, rental items. If there are any hot water times rental, alarm system, make sure that you put the amount and how long, because some alarm systems are very sophisticated and they cost a lot of money every month. And then we make sure HSD is included. As we know, except brand new homes, every property that we sell whether condominium or freehold townhouse or whatever, its HST is always included.
So what's the definition of brand new home? When you say resale
Brand new home is, according to the government definition is brand new, never lived in from the builder, or 90% updated, like you left the shells, the bricks, and everything else is changed in the house.
So let's say there is a condo and it's through construction, the buyer, the
Yeah.
owner, they had the unit at the point of interim of occupancy.
Mhm.
And then the title is closed, now they have the title. After 2 months, they wanna sell it. Is it a brand new home?
It's brand new, yeah. If they never lived in, it's brand new.
Let's say they've lived there for 2 months.
If they lived in, then it's not a brand new. Brand new is when you're selling it brand new, never
But
lived
there
in.
is one, the time limit, time period.
There is no
Within
time
1
limit.
year,
We asked that to too many lawyers, there is no time limit. Some lawyers are saying 18 months, some lawyers are saying 2 years, and some of them are saying 1 year is enough. If you sell before that, there is capital gain, there is also HST issue. And they are now nailing everybody more often than before because they have a new system now that they correspond with the builder's sale, if the name is changed and when it's changed, you know. So we asked the accountant too, they all say the same thing. There is nothing written in the books that it's only 12 months.
So this is
To be
not
safe,
something-
most lawyers are suggesting it has to be close 18 months or over. Then they cannot come up with it.
So 1 year is.
1 year is still in the, gray area. Yeah. Yes.
Me.
Yes.
If you've got an apartment that's totally gutted and then it's put on the market, is that new?
Apartments, you have to be careful because there is management gets involved. You
Well, I'm
cannot
talking
really-
about the HST.
I know, you cannot get the apartment totally gutted because you know what I'm saying, it's a condominium rules and regulation.
Yeah,
Most of the
yeah.
stuff has to be approved, the walls and stuff.
So then,
You can change the kitchen and the bathroom, I don't think that's HST issue.
okay,
But the houses are different. When you get a house, it's in good standing and everything is okay, but the inside is like 40, 50, 100 years old, and you leave the bricks and you change everything inside, then it's 90% or 95% renovated, then it becomes an HST issue, okay? And they are looking at listings when it says brand new, never lived in, or updated, never lived in. When those listings are in their system, they come after you regardless. Signature part. Usually buyer signs first, but there is no rule. It says buyer and seller. If whoever is signing it, you can dictate that. Sometimes sellers are making the offer to the buyer. Like you send an offer expires, and then 3 days after sellers are doing it, or seller's agency just brand new offer, then the seller signs first. Obviously, irrevocable by the seller to the buyer. The most important part over here is the confirmation of acceptance. This has to be at least a few minutes before the expiry of the offer, which is the irrevocable thing. Okay, so if it's done afterwards and you know about it, then you don't have a valid offer. That means your offer was expired, and then they accepted it. That's an expired offer when your clients are accepting it. So if you have a DocuSign or electronic signature, these days it's a lot easier that the offer goes back and forth without expiring. But in the old days, sometimes people used to sign offers after the expiry, and then if everybody is okay with it, there is no issue. But if somebody starts talking about it to the lawyers, then it becomes an issue. But we make sure that irrevocable date is expiring after this. There is a time, there is a date, there is a signature. So your dates are, and the time is very important. The spousal consent, title is one person, but it's a matrimonial home. The gentleman or the lady had the house before, then they lived in there later on, but the title never changed. You need the spousal consent. If they live somewhere else and the title is on one name, then you don't need the spousal consent because it was never matrimonial.
Sir?
Acknowledgement. Yes.
Question. Actually, for confirmation of acceptance, because it's the last person to sign when I study.
Yes.
But what if the seller are two persons? If the sellers is a final person to sign,
Right.
but the sellers are two persons.
Okay.
So are the two signature or only one?
If they are both available, I always get both signatures.
Okay.
Always. Okay, always. how many people are signing the offer, if they are still available, if it's not after hours that one is gone, to bed or is not feeling well. I always get everybody's signature, everybody's initial, everybody's, information. But if there is one is not available, I cannot do anything else. So I have to leave a copy to that person with his signature. Okay, it does not require the second or third party. But if they are there, I would definitely get. The Schedule 8, this is the main part now we're going to talk about it. Preparing an offer is an art. We cannot start from the bottom and then come to top. We always have to go first clause, second clause, third clause. Not that it's required by law or by real estate associations or RICO, but it looks better, okay? It sounds better. You don't say as your first clause here after the names, room swap condition. Okay, it doesn't look proper to me, anyways. But if it was there, would it make them offer null? No, it still is okay. But I would definitely put your remaining balance of the payment first, and then maybe your conditions, mortgage and inspection. If it's a condo, which is a different form, your status certificate, and then you go on with your chattels, that they are going to be in good working order. And then so on and so on. Let me just go to that page. This is condominium.
Sir?
Yes.
Another question for the cost. So do you recommend two visit or 3 visit?
For what?
Before closing. Because
before closing,
pretty expensive.
I tell you that. I tell you right. Okay. This is our cheat sheets here. I think every office under Vivian's jurisdiction have almost the same thing, maybe a few lines different. So before we prepare our offer, if someone is preparing for us, then we fill this out. So it's easier for the person, who's typing the offer, preparing the offer. So the clauses are here. As you see, pay the balance of the remaining balance is the first one appearing there. Okay, and then we have deposit increase. That's the one I was telling you earlier. Okay, it's a very well done.
Why don't they have the clause numbers correspond with the web form numbers?
No, they are
No,
not.
I know it's paint.
Yeah, they are not. And some of the wording is different too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Condition on financing. Rule of thumb, you put 5 days if you are representing your buyer. Seller prefers 4 or 3, then you work with them. You don't want to lose an offer. As long as your buyer is comfortable, it's not a high ratio. Sometimes 3 days, not enough if the bank is going to be dealing with CMHC. CMHC usually takes longer than that because first you get approved by the bank and then it goes to the CMHC. Okay, so I don't think, especially if it's on a Friday, your offer got accepted, and then Friday afternoon, usually bankers or CMHC people not very active, so you may need an extra extension. But it all depends every buyer and seller. Okay, I would try to get 5 days for my buyer, but if the seller is pushing for 4 or 3, I don't want to lose it. At least I have an offer, accepted offer. Now, there is a phrase here, there is a line here, let me find it first. Okay, the way this is written, it's a perfect scenario. If you have the dates, and your offer is presented today, and then you put 5 days at PM, we will talk about that, on, let's say, the day of the week, it's today is 23rd, let's say 29th of 28th or 29th of January 2018. You don't have to worry about anything because there is a date and the time. So everyone is aware of it, that on the 29th day of January at whatever PM or AM you put, your offer is going to be expired. So you have to get your waivers or fulfillment before this date. But most of us, we don't use this. We change it. We use 5 business days. This is not a business day. This is a date, and the date and the hour. Okay. Now, instead, even on the ready forms that we have downstairs, I'm gonna read you that to make it easier, and the reason is this. Yes, Adam?
Is this loaded into web forms in the 5-day business day, what you're showing right now? Are both conditions of financing in our web forms?
Yes.
The 5-day business day and the actual date itself?
Yeah.
Both of them?
Yeah. Okay. Now the ready ones that we have for the weekenders that are tied after closing, then if you are in a rush to get an offer, we have prepared some ready with Schedule A, basic conditions, financing and inspection. This reads, this offer is conditioned upon the buyer arranging at the buyer's own expense, first mortgage, okay, it goes there. And then unless the buyer gives notice in writing, deliver it to the seller personally in accordance with any other provisions, that this agreement purchase and sale hereto expiring 11:59 p.m. on the 5th day, okay? So the reason that we are doing this, in case your offer does not get accepted the day of the presentation, it goes on to next day. If there is a fixed date over here, you are losing 1 day already, okay? So is it clear? Everybody understand that? If I'm presenting this offer tonight, if it gets accepted, I just give a date. Today is the 23rd, 24, 25, and then we have the weekend. Let's say 29th. Let's take 29th or 28th. If my offer doesn't get accepted tonight and it's tomorrow's date, then I'm losing 1 day. If I put 5 business days, no matter when my offer gets accepted, I still have 5 business days. Okay? Now, can you say that loud?
From date of acceptance.
From date of acceptance.
Of agreement.
Of agreement. So there is a gray line again. From date of acceptance, that means you sign the offer today at 10 o'clock at night. Today is counted as day 1. Just be careful. So what do we put here? 5th business day after acceptance.
Well, that's
Following.
Yeah, so be careful, okay, following the day of acceptance. So if your offer is accepted 8 o'clock in the morning, from the date of acceptance is okay. Because you have from 8 until tonight, there's a full day, you can do your paperwork. But if your offer gets accepted after 6 or 7, then it's useless for the bank and the inspection, then you're losing a day. So it has to be following the day, all right? And the same with your inspection. Right? So what do we do first? If we are working under a buyer agency with a buyer, we have 2 conditions. They are both merging, expiring at the same time. Who do we go after? The bank or the inspection?
Bank.
The bank.
You don't have
Why?
to, because you don't want your buyer spending your money.
Yeah. Okay. So your bank is number 1. Okay. If at least there is a 80%, 70% chance before the expiry of the condition, then you get your inspection done. Okay, let's go about your visits. You asked me how many times?
Generally 2.
Generally 2. There is no limit, depending your closing date and depending the agreement between the buyer. There is nothing engraved on the stone that it has to be 1, 2, or 3. I seen 3, I seen 4. If your closing is you're buying today in September, you may have 3 or 4. Depending the house condition, if you're gonna renovate, you can get permission to bring contractors, okay? Or visits, let's say you have a family member coming from overseas and it's gonna be a part of the deal, then you can bring them inside. So there is not really a fixed date, but in a month closing, you don't wanna put 4 or 3, it looks ridiculous. If you're buying it today and closing middle of February or the end of February, I think 2 visits would be more than enough, I think, okay?
So I still want to clarify, actually, for example, 5 business days
Yeah.
after acceptance.
Yeah.
So the acceptance date is counted as day
No,
1.
if you say after or following is not counted. If you say the day of acceptance, then it's counted. So here it says after. So that means today acceptance, tomorrow starts number 1.
Next business day.
Exactly. Okay? Yeah. If it's a Friday, then it starts Monday because Saturday, Sunday is a business day, not a business day. Okay.
Gregory,
Yes.
are we going over assignment clauses today?
Pardon?
Assignment clauses?
What clauses?
Assignment clauses?
Assignment clauses? No, we are not doing assignment today.
Okay.
But if we have time, why not? So Home inspection, there are two of them. One is a favor for the buyer, the other one is for the seller. Or if you are on a dual agency or multiple representation, you should be using the one that benefit of the seller. So this one here, satisfactory to the buyer or report revealing deficiency in the property which the seller is willing and able to remedy. So this is a seller's. Okay, if I'm representing the seller, I rather have this than this. Then this one says obtaining of a report satisfactory to the buyer in the buyer's sole and absolute discretion. So this one, any line, any haircraft line, the buyer can say, you know what, I change my mind because there is a crack on the wall. That's it. Even if it's a very small issue, they can get out of the deal. But the other one, it has more strong wording. I am representing the buyer under a buyer agency. I use this. I am representing the seller. I prefer that. If I am on both sides, I still prefer the other one. Yes.
About the visit, should we say that the inspection, the appraising is other than those visits, or
it would be a good idea, sure, because you do your visits and then some banks do their appraisals almost a day or 2 days before the closing. Then the seller may say, I'm not accepting anybody in my house. If it's not written, that's an issue.
What about the last showing on the day of closing?
Well, sellers don't like that because, I mean, I am boxing, I am moving out, and you're going to show my house? No. I prefer that.
Because we have to have a mutual agreement what time we should let them know, and they can say no. Can we mention that we should have a visit on the closing date?
Well, you can say that if your intentions are that, but the seller is on liberty to say, no, I don't want anybody in my house on the closing day. At least a week before, you know. Actually, Aurora has a clause.
Is it necessary to
10 days before or something there on the last visit? The last visit should be done at least a week before or something, which is a very good thing, yeah. I mean, can you imagine people are moving out and a weather like this and people are going?
Is it necessary to have a visit at the
It is necessary, yeah. I mean, you know, if you like,
about the buyer.
because, yeah, about the buyer, because sometimes you see the house, you like it and everything, but you don't take measurements and then you want to go back again and see, you feel better somehow, you know, like to go back in the house that you bought. I think it makes you more proud, you know, second time.
I thought about that. Maybe
It's
something
damage.
happened.
People still.
The damages are usually reported on the visit. If you see any broken glass or something is scratched or something, whether it's the last day or not, the deal has to close. You cannot say to the lawyer, I saw there is the glass broken, I'm not closing this deal. No, you have to close the deal. Or the tenant didn't move out, I don't want to close the deal. No, the lawyers will work out something. Maybe you can go after them for that damage, small claims court, big claims court, whatever, but you have to close the deal. Tenant didn't move out. You cannot delay the closing. That deal has to close, and then you go whatever you have to do.
But for tenant, the property should be vacant.
No, it says vacant position must be given.
Yeah.
But if it's not given because of the tenant, you have to close that deal. It doesn't say that in the event property is not vacant, the buyer has the right to change his mind.
So it's not protecting buyer.
Yeah, plus you see, look at it from the other side of the mirror.
Can you put that in though?
You can put it in, but look at it from this side. Now you are on the seller side. You have a tenant in there. The price has gone up $200,000 since you sold the house.
Yeah.
And if you put that in, and the tenant is working with the seller, and they don't move out, and you change your mind, you got to be careful.
You have to advise your buyers that that's a potential.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is always a case like that both ways. You cannot just create something and it's going to work for both parties. You got to be careful. Tenants are tenants. If they are given proper notification at the proper time, they have to move out. And the seller has to do everything possible to, get them out. Let's say you are on a month-to-month, you sold the property today, they are on a monthly list. So you got to give notice today or the end of this month for whole February and all March. So your closing cannot be legally before April 1st. Okay, even though we are on the 23rd. Even if you were on the 10th of January, you cannot close legally.
But we're refusing to vacate.
If they are refusing to vacate when you're giving the paper, because it's the tenant. proper paperwork has to be given by the owner. Then you have to notify the other party that you're gonna have a problem. If you want, the house is there with the tenant, he may be looking for 90 days, he may be looking under 20 days, but he's not gonna move out, if you know this. But if you don't know, and the seller says, I give the paper, they accepted it, everything. Now, he is acting in good faith. He did everything possible, okay? Now, the day of the closing or the day of the tenant has to move out, he is still there. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go and throw his furniture out? You can. Now, the buyer has to close and start a new action against the tenant if the properly, everything was served properly to the tenant by the owner. And you have copies of it. First I go here.
Would one way to mitigate risk on that, if you were the buying agent, could you request a copy of the letter that was
Yes,
given
yeah.
to the
Oh, yeah,
tenant
I always request that.
prior to
Yeah,
closing?
it has to be proper form, by the way, when you sold, you cannot kick a tenant out before you sell the property, unless they are willing to get out, okay? You can tell them, in 3-4 months' time, I'm gonna sell the property. You've been with me for 3-4 years, I wanna give you advance notice, okay? If the guy has been super good tenant, he said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna look for a tenant. Actually, I had in mind to change maybe this year, I leave you the house the end of February. Then you wait till he moves out. There is no issue because you asked him, he's moving out on his own. But the law says you cannot tell the tenant, I'm gonna put the property on the market, now you move out before, because I wanna show it. No, there is no such thing. You have to show with the tenant in it, arranging the time, the day. I have a listing now. It's one of my friends on lease, downtown. The tenant is there, and he says to me, Gregory, I want to help you. The landlord is good. I can only show it Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. This is acceptable by the law. Okay, so tenants' private enjoyment, right? So you cannot force the tenant to show every day 9 to 9. No, he said to me, 10 o'clock until 7, they have a young baby. So Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I accepted that. Now, can we sell that property and kick him out? No, you have to sell it first and then give him the notice. We sell it, it's closing, let's say, must be closing not earlier than April if we are selling it today, because you got to give him 2 full months, okay? And with the proper form, and you can ask a copy of it. Now, everything is done properly. Everything is done properly, you got the copy, and tenant is still there. You cannot say to your lawyer, I'm not closing this because tenant is still there. You have to close it. So I have never heard that lawyer is gonna say, yeah, don't worry about it, we keep the money. Yes.
As a buyer agent, we should not recommend buying a property with tenant to any client because it's risky.
Yeah, of course, if you are under a buyer agency agreement, you gotta tell all these things to your buyer ahead of time, that it is risky. But some buyers take that risk, some
Shall we
buyers.
put any condition in the agreement?
There is no condition because it's 2 months from now. You cannot put 2 months conditional. Nobody gonna accept your offer saying that this offer is conditional upon the seller being able to vacate the property a day before the closing day. And you're selling it today, 2 months condition, no way.
Is the seller liable for damage if he doesn't vacate?
No.
No.
If the seller did his job properly, you have all the copies and everything, there is nothing you can do to the seller. I mean, that's a third party individual. Yes.
Could you have if you were the buying agent, you could have a conversation with the selling agent to say, look, this is a bit of a concern for us. What kind of a relationship does the landlord have with the tenant, and kind of feel it out before?
Sure, you can do all
and just
that.
communicate about it.
Yeah,
to see.
100%, you can do all that. But regardless what you do, still,
Yeah.
Today's good tenants, tomorrow's could be a problem tenant. So, I mean, we heard a lot of stories about tenants. I mean, some of them are, God bless, they are beautiful people. Some of them are terrible. So it depends who you're gonna deal with and how they're gonna live the property. That's another thing, but that's the way it is. If you are on a multiple offer on a tenanted property, good luck. I mean, how many things you put in there, whoever gives the money and then no condition they get it, yeah.
Tenant doesn't want to show the property, are they in their legal right or no?
No, they are not. If this was done properly, because you should put that paragraph that, with within 60 days of expiry on the list. If the tenant, tenant will allow showing within reasonable hours, whatever. But again, if they're gonna be problem makers, no matter what you put, they give you that problem. Then you gotta open a case, spend some money and get them out. If you have to prove to the tribunal that they are giving you hard time.
I was a landlord and I recently sold that property, my investment property. And what I was told from the landlord and tenant board, because I had a problem tenant at one point who was not letting me show the property to somebody else who wanted to move in.
Good, let's listen, this is important.
What they told me from the landlord and tenant board, they said, you can still show the property, but you have to post in written notice as the landlord on the door saying, I will be showing this property 24 hours from this time stamped. You have to take a picture of it to timestamp it. And that's your evidence that you put notice within 24 hours. And then you do have the right, apparently, to show the property.
There you go. And is this before the new law or after the?
This was last summer.
Last summer. There are a lot of changes in the Residential Tenancy Act, and some of them are not even out yet, and we are expecting a new lease form. Now, when I go to the second part of this, when we are dealing with the landlord and tenant preparing a lease, we won't be able to use very soon saying that once this agreement to this is signed, no other papers you need, this is going to be your lease. That's going to be gone. They are working on something that it's going to be mandatory to use that form. Okay?
A special form of lease.
A special form of lease, and you're going to be using that. Is it a Schedule B, C, or whatever they're going to call it? You will have your first page and second page, signature page of agreement to lease, and then when all the clauses are coming in, then it becomes part of the lease agreement. I think they are working on it as per lawyers. That as per lawyers, they are working on it.
In your case,
Yes.
what if the tenant doesn't let you in after the notice?
That's a big issue. Listen, to work with the tenant as a landlord is terrible thing. I had a very bad experience. I spent for my son $15,000 to get a tenant out and 3 months non-payment of rent. She sold the washer and dryer of a brand new condo, okay, or she took it away from the parking lot because she's not stupid. She took it in the elevator or she sold it through the, her friend or whatever. They brought a van to the parking lot and they put it on and gone. And she didn't pay the hydro bill to Toronto Hydro for about 6 months. They cut the hydro. You know what she did? She took an extension cord of 100 feet and put it under the door to the corridor. And she was using her cell phone and the lamp, and we have all these pictures. Yet, it took us over 3 months to get it legally. I spent $3,000 to the legal. Okay, there are lawyers that they are legal aids. They charge less than the lawyer, but more than yourself. So, and it took that. Plus, sheriff to change the lock. Locksmith, it has to be 300 here, 500 there. It became $15,000. Okay, so it's a big issue. If you have a bad one, good luck to you. And what happened after that? One day we are talking at the concierge. This is a downtown apartment that my son has. He works 10 hours a day, so I was looking after. What happened after that? One day I am talking to the concierge because we cleaned up there. It cost us almost $1,000 to clean up. You didn't want to see the refrigerator. There was green hair growing.
Oh my God.
No hydro. Well, if there is no hydro, what happens to the refrigerator? All the food is in there. 17 bags of garbage in 690 square foot of apartment. I'm not exaggerating. I have the pictures because we sue her and then, so anyway, we are talking to the concierge downstairs showing the place. She says, you know what? I said, is that the apartment the lady moved out? I said, yeah. I said, she came the other day. It's like with a cane, actually, working. I said, what happened? She said her leg was strapped and it was all bandaged and stuff. I said, yeah. I said, which legs? Right one? only one leg? He said, yeah. I said, I wish it was both legs, you know. She fell down from a motorcycle, actually, her boyfriend motorcycle, and she's damaged her leg. So, God forbid you have a bad tenant. If you don't.
Is it true that now, as of now, landlord have to pay tenant if they want to
Yes.
win
Yes.
at the end of the lease
Yes,
term?
not at the end of. If you want to move in yourself.
Let's say there is a 1 year lease. and
Yeah,
at the
no,
end of-
not within a year. The lease expires. Within a year, it's up to the tenant. He can go, he can refuse.
At the end of the lease,
Lease.
you want to move.
You want to move in, you gotta give him 60 days notice plus a 1 month.
Oh.
Or 60-day notice and find him an accommodation identical what she has.
This is new law?
Yeah.
Why?
If the rent is 2,000, you wanna move in or your family wants to move in, and if you don't live there for 1 year or your family, $25,000 damage, fine to you. 25,000.
Regarding this one, that you say 25,000 up to 50,000.
It could be, yeah.
But if someone claims that, if nobody say that.
Yeah, if nobody says anything.
Another thing is.
Even if you want to sell it?
Yeah.
Even if you want to sell it?
Selling is different. Then you sell it and you give a notice.
Okay.
You're moving in, that's the only time.
Okay, we should notify the tenant after the deal is started.
Yes,
After the
conditional, this
Okay.
doesn't mean nothing.
Okay, and
right?
after that, the law says, if the new buyer wants to live in, we should notify the tenant to go out.
Yes.
So, is there any paperwork between the buyer side?
The buyer is
Let the seller.
Yeah, there is no legal paper, but you can create one saying that buyer hereby represents that after the closing, the
Can it
tenant
be in
moving
the
out.
agreement or? it
Yeah,
should
you
be
can put
separate?
in the schedule.
But we should do that.
You should do that. So that saying that buyer agrees
Or
to
no,
move
it's
in the property. That's all. If he signs that.
It should be there or it's not necessary.
It's your choice. It doesn't matter. It's
You know,
not a-
because the seller is notifying the tenant that I sell the property and he wants to leave it, but maybe the buyer don't want to
It
leave
doesn't
it.
matter. It's okay. You better put it in there that he will be willing moving it. If it doesn't, then it's his problem. not
And
yours.
how about this 25,000?
25,000.
buyer.
It's up to him. If he says he's gonna move in and he doesn't move in, then he has to worry about it, not us, right?
Excuse me, sir, what if he used an excuse of substantial renovation?
Yeah.
The-
But then you
tenant
put that the
reason-
buyer is buying the property with the intention to renovate.
I know, one of the excuses that we can evacuate a tenant at the end of
You
the
can.
period is.
If the
total
tenant is
renovation.
willing to go, you gotta pay 1 month rent or find an
Still, for
accommodation.
total renovation should pay one.
Okay, obtaining insurance. It's a good clause if you are dealing with older properties, aluminum wiring and novel tube, okay? You must have it. And the first solution to get rid of this problem, go to the existing insurance company. If the property is insured, then they know that it's an aluminum wiring, or it's an older property, the wiring has to be, they will insure it. You go to a brand new company, you may be getting refused, so this is a good idea to put in if you're selling, is a electrical issue or whatever, okay? Insurance companies are now, years ago, they would beg you, either for a car insurance or house insurance or whatever. Now you have to beg them to get insurance because they are on the higher level now, okay? So it's a good condition depending what you're selling. I don't want to advise everybody to use this on a 20-year-old home or 15-year-old home. It's unnecessary. That too many conditions, sellers will look at it like, why do you need that? But if it's an older home, aluminum wiring or knob and tube, tube and knob, then you have to use it. This is a condition is not very popular, but maybe these days it will become more popular. It's a condition on sale of a property, the seller with an escape clause, and then you usually give 48 or 72 hours. But when a property shows sold on with an escape clause, most agents will stay away from it. Okay, most agents. Okay, I'm using the most because some agents go after it. Okay, so because even if you show this property and the buyer likes it, you still don't have any chance to get it for 48 to 72 hours. The refusal is up to the original buyer, okay? So if they say we are buying it, then you wasted all this time, okay? You waited 72 hours to that offer, and then a day after 72 hours, you get a report saying that, no, it's firmed up, you know? So you may be It's not a very popular, but if you have to use it, you use it for your seller.
Oh, that means the first buyer has 48 hours
To decide.
to change it to a firm
Firm
offer,
offer.
not to close.
No, firm
I
offer.
see.
Yeah.
But while you have that, you could also use the offers accepted if like a prior offer clause, you can negotiate another offer and then give them notice, right?
You can, of
Yeah, I
course, you
mean,
have to
that's a
negotiate
way
another,
of
you have to negotiate
Still
another offer.
keeping it alive.
Yeah, but this becomes actually workable when the seller accepts another offer acceptable to the seller. If he receives another acceptable offer to him, then they have to give a notice.
Yeah.
If the offer is not acceptable, they are not going to waste their time because
That's
there
right.
is an offer already. Yeah.
So it helps with that,
Sure,
being able to
sure.
buy.
But you still have to wait 48 hours
I
to
know.
72 hours.
I know.
Release from the previous offer. If there is a offer that you're waiting to get released before you accept, you put it for 2 days. Let's say you had a conditional offer and mutual release is on the way, is not done yet. So you can put this for a couple days for your seller that I'm accepting this offer as long as I get released from the previous one. And more or less if you're gonna get released or not. You don't, Condition on buyer solicitor or seller solicitor. You can use the same thing. If the buyers or sellers are not comfortable to sign anything, our obligation is to leave them enough time for a 2 day or a day or 3 days to see their solicitors or lawyers. I think they have that charter of rights in the charter of rights. We cannot tell them, no, it's okay. It's very basic. To you, it's basic. To them, it's not. All right. So they have to have that right to see their lawyer. You are accepting a conditional offer on financing and inspection or status certificate anyway for 5 or 10 days. Why not another day? What does it, it doesn't hurt anybody to give them the right to see. And I think they feel better, Let the lawyer change. The lawyer is not going to change the stuff that is going to be, nullifying your offer. Survey. I put this in every listing, in every offer, okay, and let the buyer take it away. Maybe they have one ready, they are touch it. Maybe they don't have one, they're gonna take it out. So this way, any future problem, you did your job by asking, all right? And then they refuse to give it, you and your buyer knows. Because lawyers, some of them, they like to blame everything on the agent. If there is an issue on closing with the land size or anything else or easement, they're gonna say your agent didn't even ask for a survey. They are not gonna look at the listing and say there is no survey available. Yeah, that is there, but you didn't ask for it. Maybe there was not one available at the time of the agent getting the listing. A month after, there is one available. Either one of the neighbors or they found in their old paper from the lawyer's office. Yes. So you put it, let them take out. Let them take it out. That's all. Fixtures, chattels. Well, there it is. Usually 2. Very short closing 1. It's not an inspection really. It should be visit. They put inspection there.
What if the buyer go there and then see something? What will happen?
No, when it's inspection is different. But this word is changed to visit. Visit is you go there, you measure if you are supposed to measure it. Inspection, you can go like your inspector, open everything, close everything, go downstairs, start the heating and the air conditioning. That's inspection. When it's a visit, you're not supposed to do that.
So if you go there, you see a broken pipe.
Well, then you're gonna notice. You're gonna tell the listing agent that I was there yesterday. There is something damaged. Before closing, I'm gonna have the lawyer know about it, and then the lawyer is gonna write to your seller's lawyer that has to be fixed before closing. All right. So if there is a paper trail, they have to do that.
I've seen this clause with, in addition to home inspection,
Yes.
insurance
Yes.
inspections,
Insurance inspection, I don't think it's necessary, but not the home inspection. Home inspection is already a condition. Okay, it's already in the beginning of the deal. It has nothing to do with this. Mortgages and home inspections are the conditions you put in. Now, the problem comes appraisals.
Yeah.
The bank somehow, oh, another thing while we are at the subject, the appraisals, if I'm arranging a mortgage for my buyer, I would definitely try to get an appraisal within those 5 days. Not within the last 5 days, within the 5 days. Because your buyer has a 20% down payment, the house values may change within 3 months' time. If it's going higher, well, it will be good. But if it's going steady and lower, then the house may not get appraised exactly. Then they're going to ask your buyer to come up with extra down payment. Not everyone has that luxury to come up $50, $100, or $200,000. Then what will happen? You're going to go crazy to look for a private second mortgage or one of the relatives to help, or your deal is going to be done. Many deals fall apart because of that. Recently, we lost so many deals because of that. Now I would put in there, the buyer must arrange the bank mortgage company or the bank to arrange the appraisal within 5 days. Okay? So this way, if there is any problem, the first 5 days, not the last 5 days.
Do you mean the conditional 5 days?
Yes, 100%. They don't want it, I go somewhere else. There are so many institutions, so many trust companies, so the rate is very negotiable anyways, within the limit. You're not going to pay 1% more because there is an appraiser going to go there within 5 days. But I would definitely do it. So coming back to visits, those things are already conditional. This is extra, but if somehow you didn't get the appraiser going, or then you put that this is in addition for an appraiser, or this may include, you put extra one of the visits may include appraiser from the bank. So she cannot refuse. You know what I'm saying? So you cannot, you can change the wording.
Excuse me, back to the previous
Yes,
clause.
yes.
We should change the last word from visit to inspection.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, this is visit, not inspection.
You want it to say visit.
Visit.
So it should be visit, even if.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
inspection.
visit, yeah, definitely. Don't use inspection because that's not supposed to be inspection. You did the inspection already, that's done. So we don't want to go visiting and doing inspection, then it creates a bigger problem.
Oh, I have a change. I saw the change of completion date. Why did people bother putting that in? Because you can do it with an amendment anyways, so with mutual agreement. So what's going to change by putting that in?
Okay, I tell you what's going to change. If you put one of this in, completion date, one of this in, whatever you put, they have to abide with that. If you don't have this one, they can refuse the change of a closing date.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There is no, because you have a fixed date. We have April 1st. Now your buyer says.
Notwithstanding the completion, is that a buyer may change it once, and they're agreeing to it.
They are agreeing to it, right? You can. Let's say you have a property that you put it on the market before you bought it, and it's not selling. Now you're going to need an extension. They can say, no, we agreed on April 1st. It's going to be April 1st. They may refuse it. Or the seller may come to you and say, well, our house is not ready. You say, I'm sorry. I sold mine and I'm moving out. But if you put one of this either for the favor of the buyer or the seller, then they have to go with it because they accepted it to begin with. I think it's a safe clause if there is an issue.
Yeah. We're not voting here.
No.
Right to assign. Just something that popped in my head, to be incorporated. Now, I've dealt with offers where on the name, it says signing authority, John Smith per corporation to be incorporated.
Yes.
You're signing on a corporation that doesn't exist at the time in which the offer is being presented. Is that legal?
It's legal because your company is not ready yet, but it's going to be ready before closing. But there is a fine line over here, especially if you are on the seller side. Make sure this is not exactly how it is written here. It says, the buyer herein before, name shall be stand released from all further liability hereunder. No, you should not be released from the liabilities hereunder. Because if you transfer this to me or to your new company, and then the day of the closing, that company is a shell company, there is nothing to sue, your deposit wasn't strong enough, the market changed, even though you have 50,000 deposit, now the house is selling 150,000 less. If you're released from your obligation, the seller is in big trouble. So you should still stand responsible. So what I would do here, name shall not stand release, okay? You have to put that wording there that if I cannot close the deal when you transfer to me or my company or your company, then you are still responsible, personally to close that deal.
Where I normally see this is in the name section. It's not even in that schedule.
Yeah, no, name section is not good. This is the one you should use, okay? Name section is not good. This is the proper wording, and lawyers don't like to see this like this. This is the buyer's side. If I am on the seller side, definitely I would be responsible. I would make him responsible. Okay?
I had one lawyer put in that any new assignees would be subject to the same terms and conditions.
Well, those subject terms and condition means the agreement itself.
Yes.
That you're buying a 50-foot lot, you're getting a house that is 3-bedroom. But what happens if they are not able to close? The person that has originally signed it has to be responsible. Okay?
Okay.
No illegal activity, every offer. Put it in. Buyer, put it in. Seller, ask your seller, before you sign it. If he says, the time that I lived here, there is no legal activity, accept it. Okay? But the buyer should have this opportunity in every offer.
That is to the best of the seller's
Yes.
knowledge.
Well,
the pastor, right?
Yeah.
If I don't know,
You don't know, you don't know. That's
you
it.
can approve, I know
Yes,
it, right?
yes, exactly. Well, we put this in every offer now. I would add few things in here, including the garage. It says property. Property is everything, but somehow they think the garage is not, they think property is the house, not the backyard, not the garage, not the shed. They leave garbage in the garage, they leave stuff in the shed. I would say including the garage and backyard. So this way there is nothing left around. It will cost you money, and then you have to go to the small claims court to get it.
So if people do take somebody to small claims court, they most likely would win in this type of a situation where people were to leave garbage.
Yes, we won a case like that.
Okay. What type of a fine
Years ago,
is
yeah,
usually
years ago.
involved?
Yeah. They had bird cages in one of the backyards, and we put in the offer that upon the seller agrees to remove all the bird cages from the backyard, before the closing
How many
day.
bird cages did they
Bird
have?
cages, yeah, they had
100?
in Mr. This guy was crazy. He had ladders and going there feeding the birds and stuff. Yeah, on closing day, when we got the key, cages were not there. But it wasn't one or two cages. They were big built cages, right? And lumber that he broke and he left it in the garage. Then we called a company to remove it. It's $700 they asked. We called the lawyer right away. We said, listen, you either send him to come and pick it up, or we're gonna have a company to remove it, and we're gonna, the seller, the lawyer notified it, and he says, okay, tell them I'll pay for it, So therefore, the garage is very important. Okay, on the condo side, the only difference is we have everything the same. We have a status certificate. My personal opinion, no matter how many offers I'm dealing with on the property, this is the most important stuff. Forget about the mortgage. Inspection is good, but as condominiums, I don't think is as necessary as, I'm not saying not necessary, as necessary as homes. Because condo, you have no roof problem, you have no basement problem, you have no windows problem, it's only interior. Sink, you can check it if there is any leak. Canadian Tire has washers, usually 25 cents to $2 package, okay? And electric, if it's not a dated condo, everything working. So what the inspector gonna check? Toilets, flushing, So it's your choice. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't have condo inspection not done, but it's a choice, okay? But it's not as urgent or as important as the house. Mortgage, yes, but the most important, if your buyer is qualified, 30% down, and then work is good, this is the most important for a condo. Now you're gonna say, why? Because there are so many condos selling in there. Okay, you check the history, it's closing, that means okay. But this person could be personally liable for some stuff, number one. Number two, garage numbers, locker numbers. So many times, it doesn't match. They show you one place that's somebody else's place, the number that you have, and in the registration system, it's something else. I sold a place to one of my best friend. Lucky we put this condition in. They had two parking. They show side by side, and this is an older lady. And the one parking was on the level 1, another one was level 4. And the locker that we put in, the owner of that locker had died already years ago. This lady was using it with no permission. She was renting this locker from that person. That person sold the apartment and he was not available anymore. We held in our lawyer's trust account $5,000 until such time that the locker issue got cleaned up. If not, you were going to have 5,000 rebate and buy another locker if there is available. But finally, they emptied that locker and then we got the locker. So it's not only for your maintenance that is going up or down and the budget, that's very important. At least you know next year you're not going to get nailed 15% increase in the projected budget, okay? Or your fees are not enough. There is a study every 2 years. You know, your collected fees not enough and they are in red. Those are very important, but there are other important issues. And I would definitely follow up with this. This is not enough. This must be there. It must be there. Now, if there are stuff done to the unit without the permission of the management, you are liable after the seller is gone out. Okay? Hardwood floors. If they didn't use proper underpadding, okay, whether laminate, hardwood, or vinyl, whatever they use, if there is a complaint from downstairs and then it becomes an issue, maybe the sellers were elderly people, they walk on their tippy toes every day. There are no kids in there. Maybe there was no complaint. Now you're moving there with 2 young children, they're going to be jumping and making noise, and the noise is going to go down. So there is going to be a complaint, and the management is going to come. If that was done without the permission, okay, then they're going to make you take that out and put the proper underpadding. They have code numbers. You have to go with them, okay? The same with everything else. Maybe somebody took this wall down, made it a straight. You're not supposed to touch that without the permission, okay? So these are the issues that they open windows from the kitchen in the older apartment. But sometimes there is a legal measurement that you are allowed. It's like maybe 6 by 5. But some people go crazy and they go 10 by 8. That's not supposed to be. So I would definitely encourage that everybody should do it. Yes.
So who is responsible for the plumbing of the condo?
Plumbing?
Yeah,
Its interior is all yours.
No, I mean behind the driveway.
Well, that is a question. It depends what happened behind the drywall. Obviously, you cannot repair behind the drywall. If it's a contractual issue, then the condominium corporation will do it. But anything this side of the wall, it's yours.
Broken pipe.
Including the furnace.
Including the furnace, yeah.
Broken pipe. For broken pipe.
Broken pipe, yeah, well, depends where it is. It's behind the wall, it's somebody's fault, that person will get nailed for it, okay? Leakage from upper level, if they didn't do something that they were supposed to do, they get nailed, their insurance. But if it's a building issue, then the condominium corporation, yes.
In regards to the status certificate clause, is it 10 business days or 10 days?
It's supposed to be 10 days. If
So
it
that
says
says
business,
10
it's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, condominium corporations must supply the status certificate 10 days, not business. And actually, it's contradictory to the condo act if you put business days. I wanted to change that so many times. Some forms came out 10 days, some still coming out business. I will make sure that it will be days, not 10 business, because it makes 15 days. It's against the condo act, not only real estate.
So before we put an offer, we try to talk to the management. And many of it says that there's a leak from the shower to the downstairs.
Mhm.
So they give a notice to the owner, tell them to fix it. But we talked to the owner and they said, that's not my responsibility. So they don't know which
No,
condition.
it's his responsibility. If the shower is leaking because of their negligence, they flooded or whatever the case is, it's the interior part of the condo, it's your responsibility and you should have an insurance look after it. There is always fine, you don't pay, it gets registered on the unit. Therefore, it's a good idea not to have any offer without this because other units are selling and closing. That doesn't mean this unit is one of them. It could be a lien against this unit because there was a past history of leakage, broken something that they didn't pay. Maybe there is a fee attached to it. You
So
understand?
if we put a condition that's protect the buyer.
You can
the
put
price is
any
okay.
outstanding work order or liens against the
But
unit.
it is registered, it doesn't give a letter. That's why.
No, the condo corporation knows. Even if they give a letter, they will know. It will be in the status certificate. Oh, it will be in the status. They will not forget that.
One question is on that kitchen plumbing.
Mhm.
Now, isn't that cost to do a home inspection on condos right now because of this plumbing issue?
Yes. Not too many condos have that plumbing. Maybe there is only handful. If that's an issue, I know Northern Heights, I heard that there is that kind of a plumbing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
One of the building in Northern Heights, you told me,
Yeah, it has to
someone,
be.
So you gotta be careful. If you know the condo has that kind of issue, I would definitely encourage a condition, but again,
Would that be in the status certificate?
it should be, because that's a problem now, but in case
So
it's
you
not,
don't know, so
yeah.
you should probably do
Yeah.
a home inspection with the condo.
I put an offer, got accepted for a condo. The exterior of the condo and the balcony, they turned a den into a shed. They put drywall and there was a door. I was worried about the liability of my buyers having to take that on as a burden.
Condo corporation would never give permission for such thing,
Yeah.
so this should be in there. They have to regulate. If you know that that's something done illegally, you should put actually in your offer that the seller agrees to remove that shed. You're not allowed. You are not even allowed to put a different color drapes. Inside it could be red, but outside should be either off-white or white. 90% condominium have the regulation. You cannot put different color drapes showing outside, or else it would be like a United Nation, right? From outside, green, red, blue. You don't want that in your building, especially when you are investing money.
If you're the selling agent on a condo, isn't it good practice to order the status certificate up front?
Always.
So you already have it?
Always, but there is also a limit on that too. Some lawyers do not want to see a status certificate older than a month. Some lawyers go up to 3 months. Okay, so it depends which lawyer you are working with. Because today you ordered it, if you select within a week, that's beautiful. But if the condo is on the market for a month, a lawyer may say, I need an updated one. And he's not doing anything against, your buyer is doing favor to the buyer because you don't know what happened within this month. It could be somebody suing the condo corporation for falling or not cleaning the snow or the ice or whatever, In my condo downtown, the garage door malfunctioned and it came down to a car. This is a new condo by Monarch, it's 4 years old. So now this could have happened in a time that my status certificate was ready, but this happened afterwards. So now there is an issue with that person. He's saying, you have to replace my car. I don't want it to be repaired. It could be 30,000, 40, 50, I don't know his car, but this came as a letter that there is a damage to a car. We are just informing you. So, there is so many things that can happen within that month.
So, what status certificate? Only seller can request for status certificate, or they can consent for buyer to go and direct?
Well, if it's written that the seller, it has to be the seller. Usually seller is responsible. Now buyers are not allowed to go. They can go and pick it up, but it has to be on the seller's, like requesting the seller. Or else it's a privacy issue. Then you can go and say to the corporation, I need a status certificate of 1702. Who are you? Like, you have to have a legal documentation that you require that for a purchase or whatever, right? So that's the way it is. Okay, rental application. We are going to talk about 15 minutes, then we go to the forms. Now, you want to have a property for rent, or you have a tenant that you're going to rent, you better make one of these 100% with you, either when you're receiving an offer to rent or when you're submitting an offer. Now, most of the information here is private, semi-private. Now, we accept with no social insurance number. Credit bureaus are more, open-minded now. Before, you don't have a social insurance, you wouldn't get it. Now they are giving it. But if you don't have this paper signed, most people are saying now, I want my agent to do a credit bureau, because what I receive from the selling, the tenant agent, it may be modified or forced. Right? Sometimes people cut and paste it. Sometimes they send you a photocopy that you don't even see the line, and it shows good number, but that number doesn't belong to that person. It belongs to somebody else. I'm not suggesting they are all like that, but I keep hearing the stories. Okay, when you sit down there 5 days a week or 3 days a week, you have a lot of stories coming. So when you have this and sign underneath, the person who's filling it and signing this is giving you permission that you can do a credit bureau, whether they send you one or not. Your landlord is allowed to request another one. It costs $20 usually. Terry Britton is very good, or Wendy. 25. About 20, 25, whatever. Now you want to make sure that you're not getting a lemon in your property. You better look after it. All right. Now, if the new report comes exactly what it's supposed to be, like the original, now you have a good tenant in your hand. If that one is totally different, that means you were going to be in trouble to begin with. Then you get rid of that application and the offer. You say, we are not accepting your offer. Why? Because your bureau wasn't 100%. But in order to have that, you have to have the top part at least, first name and last name, all filled out, and then signature on the bottom giving you the permission. All right. So that's that.
But quick question about the rental.
Yeah.
If the tenant lies on the rental application, is the agent responsible?
The agent?
Yeah.
No, if the agent is not lying with him, he's not responsible. You should look for documentation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in order for you to do an offer, I would search a little bit about this person. If he's somebody from out of town, is he giving me the right information or not? I think it's our responsibility. If you were taken for a ride, I don't think you're responsible. The person is, identifying himself somebody else, and he's filling out and signing it, and you have no idea. If you are with him, yeah, you are responsible. If not, you have to answer to the RICO or court, whatever. You are not proven guilty unless you are charged, right? So it's like, it depends how much you know about that, how much you didn't. By the way, with the offer part, not with this part, the agreement of purchase and sale, there is a requirement of pin track. You have to do that regardless the deal goes through or not. Well, if the deal doesn't go through, you don't need to send anything. But the best time to do it when they are signing the offer and get all the information. Because after a while, it becomes a secondary job for everybody. So I would definitely do that. And a deposit when you are on the buyer side. And those are only to be kept by you. You are not supposed to give that information to the listing part.
For the lease, no fee track.
No. For the lease, regardless of the amount, you don't need that. Agreement to lease, well, the first page will be identical or close to the agreement of purchase and sale, except the names are different, tenant and landlord. It's irrevocability. Or else the property, the only thing is that doesn't require a lot size because we're not selling the property.
So, sorry, should they put all the name of occupants in the agreement for lease?
There is a Schedule A, it shows the place, yes. I would put only whoever is responsible, not the kid's name, but on top, only the tenant's name goes there, husband and wife, or mother and daughter, whoever is listed. And then there are extra people, then you put it on the Schedule A. Okay, this has exactly the same, fulfillment. Here it is, confirmation of acceptance. Again, you have to make sure that it's not expired. everything is the same. Contract is a contract, by the way. It doesn't matter you're leasing it or selling it or buying it. The idea of a contract has to be the same. The laws are the same. Yes.
I have a quick question. Somebody asked me to review their lease that the landlord had given them for a basement apartment the other day. And in the lease, they had put that the owners have the right to separately meter the house for electricity if they wanted to.
Okay.
And they also had a clause saying that if the tenant was to go over a reasonable amount of electricity, they didn't put what amount, then that they would be responsible to pay for their own electricity, whereas it was supposed to be included in the monthly. Yeah. Is that allowed?
Well, first of all, let's go back to the basement apartment. Are they allowed to rent the basement apartment? That's the first question.
I was going to ask that.
That's the first. In Liable company that Vivian has 16 locations now, we do not list basement apartments or rent basement apartments to a third party if they are not fully retrofitted. All right? And retrofitted means you have to have an Ontario electric certificate and a local fire department station certificate. And those are very hard to get.
But doesn't it have to be also legally zoned?
Yes, zoning has to be legally allowed. Only
I don't think people
this is legal rent, all right? Now, many people rent illegally. Nobody can stop them, but don't get involved. If it's a service that you're trying to do, they can advertise on their own, on Kijiji, local paper. You can help them without royalty page or your name and being witness.
Yeah, no, I wasn't involved with it. She just said, do you mind just looking this over?
As long as two parties are agreeing on something, it's not illegal. I think it's okay. If the tenant was comfortable to say, yeah, if I go over $50 a month, I'll be responsible for the difference. I don't see any reason that they're going to come and say, no, you did something illegal. Obviously, the electric meter is one. If I am usually paying $100 a month, for example, all of a sudden, the tenant comes there, it's $150. Fine, I charge him $50. But now, in the future, if I am paying $300 a month, I think if he accepts it because he is using extra electricity, he signed it, he accepted it. I don't think between two parties something got accepted. It's illegal in this case. This is my personal opinion. Now, I don't know if legally if there is any issue. Yeah.
So most of the houses are single residential family. So this is the reason that they cannot rent out the basement because
some houses before 1994 they are grandfathered. Okay, as long as they have the certificate, government cannot let grandfather legal paper from them. It's not anywhere, but it's grandfathered. Like the basement was done properly, they give permission to rent it. But now you don't check the zoning, you don't have paperwork. You cannot rent that basement legally. Now, what happens? You put your name, royalty page, and your name on a list. You are signing it. And let's say you're representing the seller, the owner. Okay, there are two scenarios here. The owner give you the permission, you did it, and royalty page didn't say nothing, or it fell in the cracks. Okay, nobody noticed it. You don't have a fire protection, first of all, for a third party. Your insurance only covers against your mortgage and your personal property. If there is an issue from downstairs or from upstairs and then there was no fire escape, okay, somebody got injured and their furniture got destroyed, you think the insurance company is going to say, oh, okay, no problem. There is a $50,000 damage in the basement. I'm going to pay for it. You're not going to get not even $1. And if that person is injured, the landlord is responsible because he rented. Now, when the landlord goes to the lawyer, because he has to go to a lawyer, then your name is going to come up right away. He's not going to say, I gave permission to do it. They're going to say, he didn't know, he's a licensed agent that he's not supposed to rent this place.
So unless they have the certificate.
Certificate, yes, yeah, definitely. Two certificates, not one. Fire department and Ontario Highway. Because the houses are meant for single family. You cannot accommodate two fridges, two stoves, two washers, and two dryers, and two toasters, and two hair dryers. Okay? something is gonna give up somewhere, number one. Fire detectors, fire smoke detectors, they have to be attached to each other. If there is a problem upstairs, she has to hear or they have to hear. If there is a problem downstairs, they have to hear, okay? These are all the requirements and the zoning after that. So you don't have that. If you are on the tenant side, again, the same problem. Tenant does not have a separate insurance, and usually insurance companies don't insure the basement. So you will have a bigger problem, the same. There is actually a case, you can hopefully Google and find it, in Oakville, West Oakville, close to Hamilton. There was a Korean family. They got, the kid got burned because of a house fire. And there is almost like a $2-3 million legal lawsuit is pending. Now, in there, one of my colleagues in Oakville, he is in it too, because he rented the basement. Yeah. So now the brokerage gets involved for $700-800 or $1,000. Okay, the money is not always the issue, it's the service you want to provide to your clients. But you have to understand, there is a lot bigger problems than providing that service. I would rather tell them, put this in there, you sign it, I help you with the paperwork, but I'm not in it. Or give it to another company to help them, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
answers it.
that's the Vivian's policy is that.
There is a formal lease agreement, and Ontario government, they can go there and print that out. It's written, the lease agreement approved by government of Ontario.
Okay.
Without any OREA form or nothing, they can do that.
They can do that. Well, that's
The
good.
basement?
For anything,
Whatever.
anything they
Yeah.
want to do.
So this is the cheat sheet for leasing, okay? We have few minutes here to go. Credit check. So this usually is there, and this has to be waived by who? Landlord, not by the tenant, okay? So it's for the benefit of the landlord that he is satisfied, right? So tenant pays utilities, all right? So you have to mention, in condominiums, usually it's only a hydro, most condominiums. Now they're coming up with some other stuff. Maintenance of the ground, cleaning the carpet, maintenance of the swimming pool. If you want, you're renting with the swimming pool, you can copy and paste whatever you like. Appliances, tenant use, landlord's responsibility. Well, some old appliances, I mean, you know, no matter how good you're cleaning and using it, if it's old, it's old. If the motor gives up, it's not the tenant, it's the landlord has to provide a brand new refrigerator. So it depends how you look at it. If there is a drunk person in the house and comes and breaks the handle, that's the tenant's responsibility. But things are old, they are not new, and even you buy brand new from they only give you 1 year warranty. Anything above that is not. Offer to lease, this will be disappearing soon. I don't know when. They are working on a special lease form that everybody is going to use under Ontario new tenancy law. Option to renew. Is it a good idea to use this?
No.
No. If you are on the buyer's, tenant side, yeah, I wouldn't advise that unless your landlord is really buying this property to keep for 5 years. Well, yeah, because this gives an option to the tenant, not to the landlord. If the tenant is not in default, you cannot refuse. If everything is done properly, if he's not giving any headaches to the neighbors, okay, you have no reason to tell him you have to move on.
But still, even if the lease expires, I think the tenant has the right to stay on a.
Month to month. Yes, that is legal right, but you don't want to extend it for another year or 2 or 3. Condo bylaws, definitely has to be in there. Subletting, I would put in every offer, doesn't matter I am providing service to the tenant or the landlord. There has to be the right of every tenant to sublet, because things may change, okay? Things may change in their lifetime. They could be transferred, then you're not going to hold hostage a tenant that if they were properly, they find somebody that you approve, you know, I think they should be allowed to sublet. And I think whether you have it or not, maybe legally, it's automatically in it anyways.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say, that sublet clause is included in the residential tenancy.
There you go.
You
So
don't need to
it's
put
already
it
there.
unless the landlord insert that it's not allowed to sublet, which is
controversy of the law, yeah, so you have to have it, that's everybody's right.
Even if you put this one, if you put landlord doesn't consent for that, because it is against,
Yeah,
RTA,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense, like.
exactly.
that
So
provision.
why not show yourself, that way? It's better to put it in. Okay, showing the rental property, this has to be according to the tenant's rights, okay? You cannot say 7 days a week, 8 to 8, he is not the owner, he doesn't accommodate. Everybody has their privacy. There could be young children at home that they go to bed at 7. My grandchild, one of them, goes to 6:30 to bed. I mean, then if that property ever become rental, my daughter-in-law would not let anybody after 6:30. That's her right. As long as she is operating before that, okay? And maybe 3 days a week, 4 days a week, that's also right, with a 24-hour notice, right? I don't like to put lock boxes on the tenanted property unless otherwise everybody is okay with that, okay? Be careful, tenant's property, lock box is not a very good idea. Tempo safety checks, they say legally it's not, but everybody is doing it, and so far we haven't had any problem. I think they are closing one eye and one ear. Okay? So that's what they are doing right now.
Well, actually, it is not officially.
No, it's not officially okay, no.
Yes.
And at one time, they were not even allowing upfront payment. Now they are saying if the tenant is newcomer from another country and they don't have a credit check and they don't have business and they want to pay 6 months besides the first and last, if the offer is coming from them to you, they do it as well. They do it like that anyway, so they are allowed.
Question.
Yes.
Actually, if I represent the listing, the seller,
Yes.
the lesser.
Yes.
Yes, and if the lesser requires no pass, but I know it's against the law.
Yes.
But do we still put a clause or?
Yeah, you can put a clause, maybe the size of the pet, or no pets allowed for different reasons, okay? There is always a way out. Condominiums, there is restriction, okay? They cannot be over 30 pounds or whatever. Now, smokers, out. You can smoke outside of the property. You can say no smokers allowed, and you have the right to do that. Now, pets are a little bit iffy because it could be a pet that you need to have for medical reasons, or it's a pet that you like to have. There's two different things. Now, if the owner can somehow prove that there is an allergic reaction to the pet's fur, cat, dog, or bird, if there is some kind of a reaction to that and it says, I'm going to be living there after, and my doctor, I think then there is a gray line in that it can go both ways. But if there is no reaction, there is nothing, even if they don't have a pet now, they can buy a small dog and say, you can't do anything. I don't think legally you can say, no, absolutely, I'm not giving it to you because you have a dog. Unless that dog is like a German Shepherd, 130 pounds, and you know that.
It affects the enjoyment of the other people.
Yes, exactly. It's the enjoyment of the
Even
other
for
people.
smoking, I think you can.
Yeah, smoking,
enforce
you
them.
can, provided that they are allowed outside of the property, not inside the property. That's your house. Listen.
If they do, what you can do?
What can you do? They are breaking the contract, and smoking is one of them. Can you imagine 3 people smoking in the same property, in the bedroom, cigarette, and you're gonna move that somehow a year after? You think that smell is gonna go away from that? No, never. So that is the issue.
I have that issue with a purchase of a resale home. When we looked at it and bought it, it was a non-smoking house. Since they bought it, they've smoked inside the house because it's been cold, so the whole house smells like smoke.
But they own it though.
Yeah, and they're about to purchase it before closing.
Yes.
So I'm talking to the lawyers, what rights do we have?
Yeah.
And you don't.
Well, there is not too much you
Yeah.
can do except paint in the whole house and leave the windows open and take.
But then that's your expense that you weren't expecting because you
Yes.
bought it as a
Yes.
non-smoking house
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden it's.
I don't like the smoking issue, but the pets, there is a.
Yeah.
What about the new marijuana laws that are coming into effect? Because I've been told that you're gonna be illegally allowed to have plants. And that poses a huge issue if you're renting
Good luck
as a
to
landlord,
us,
right?
really. That's gonna,
they
I
can
know
say it's
someone
a
is
grow
gonna,
up, if
someone
there's
was gonna
plants
ask
in the
me that.
house,
I asked this to
then-
a lawyer. I asked this to a lawyer, namely Lauren Schumann. He comes to teach here. He said, Gregory, don't talk about it now. When July 1st comes, then we'll worry about it. Let's see what kind of new laws going to come against the owners, against the tenants. They're going to come up with something. Yeah.
These
They have a legal license, they're gonna
problem
provide it to you.
for the market, because, now the landlord is scared to rent out the property.
Federal government is coming with that, but I think some things have to be attached to it. Maybe there is going to be limitation, what kind of limitation?
But you could put a clause saying, I don't, like,
You can't stop
the
them,
person
'cause
is not allowed to smoke marijuana or have plants on the.
I don't know legally, are you allowed or not? If it's a
Legal.
recreational purpose, yeah, if it's medicinal purpose, I don't know what are your rights. Everybody can say, I need it for medicinal purposes. See, Latif has a fractured leg, maybe for medicinal purposes, he needs marijuana.
I'm glad I sold my rental property when I did.
I passed that requirement.
Okay, I will distribute some forms here. Let's start this. This is different than this one. Okay, let's go one by one so we don't mix up. Thank you, Mohammed. I start from here. I am giving the other one. Okay, so.
Thank you.
Wow.
I look after the other part.
And they're okay with it. I've looked
How
at
many
several.
Yeah.
And that's what my thing is, if I sell that, then you have to, because you didn't take care of the place now, do I have to list it as a grow-off? Because right now,
I get it.
as a grow-off, you need to tear everything down. When you remarket it, it has to be put as a grow-off. Even if, like,
Even if they had a license?
no, if you didn't
I'm
have
leaving
a-
one
if
for
you
you
didn't have a
both.
license, yes. If you did,
Somebody said you should put some sort of a clause saying that the owner or the
And that's what you do,
landlord
is the damage.
reserves the right to service the furnace on a monthly basis. So that you can actually, or change the filter, somebody said,
Left
of the
over?
furnace. So
Yeah.
that you can go and look and make sure they don't have it.
Now, there is about, maybe most of you know, there is about at least 25 to 30 brand new forms. And at least maybe 15 to 20 revised forms. Now, revised are usually agreement of purchase and sale, agreements to lease, offer to purchase, and amendments. What they do, they change their word in there. Okay, so therefore, I would advise that you should use always updated form. If it's revised 2018, don't use 2017 form if it's revised. And if it's 2017, don't use the 2016. Not everything gets revised every year. So they change one word from buyer to purchaser or seller to vendor, and they become the brand new form. The new one that they come up this year, it's I don't say it's not important, but it's not crucial. Let me tell you why. I didn't print all of them. They created amendment to assignment of agreement of purchase and sale. So this amendment was not available before. We were using the normal amendment. If we had to change something in the assignment, okay, that's the one you had yesterday, you would use the house amendment, okay? Amendments were generic. Now there is a special amendment for assignment of purchase and sale, okay? And also mutual release. We would use mutual release for all type of property except commercial, whether it's a lease, whether it's a purchase, whether if it's condo or freehold. Now we have a mutual release for everything. Okay, so there is a mutual release, assignment of the purchase and sale, option to purchase, agreement to lease residential, agreement to lease commercial, agreement to lease business. So there is a mutual release form now. I didn't want to print all this because like you don't have the necessity right now to have that in your hand. If you need one, then that's going to be available. Okay, all this plus fulfillment. Before we had one fulfillment and one waiver for everything in generic. Now there is a fulfillment or waiver for agreement of purchase and sale, assignment, lease, commercial. It's all separated. Okay, that's another
So
one.
there are different form numbers?
Yes, they totally form different numbers for all these things. They created brand new termination. You are terminating a listing or buyer agency. Okay.
Find those forms.
But it's all on the web form.
Web form.
Yeah, web form. Everything is on web form, and it says new. So when it's new, so you will take it from there. Okay.
We don't have it here.
Pardon?
We don't have it.
No, because there is no place we can even put them. And they are not going to be used every day, day to day. I mean, you know, how many times you're going to use a waiver for one? So if you need one, you need one, okay? So termination of an agreement, notice of fulfillment, and also waiver, okay? And then furthermore, notice to remove condition. All these are new ones, okay? And I didn't print them. The only thing I find very interesting, the one that I gave you, maybe some of you already have. There is, they created this brand new, which is a very good form. It's seller service form. Check this, residential. Everything is residential now. We are also having buyer service forms. Check this, 380 and 280. I think this is a great form. We can use this for every time we get a listing, and you can check mark if you're missing anything or if you need anything. The first part is suggested minimum standard forms to use with seller. Working with realtor. Some of us forget about this form. It's very important. It's as important as having a buyer agency or listing agreement, because explanation of one thing, it's more important than getting a signature. If you don't explain what you're getting the signature for, that could be coming back and hunting. Okay, RICO is very aggressive on this thing. Okay, especially explaining the agency relationship. 100%. I have been in the arbitration. I have been in RICO defending agent. They ask first thing your file, and they check this one. The first thing is the working with a realtor, because that explains before you start what are you going to do for your buyer or seller, right? Now that's one there. Listing agreement, whether landlord, client, customer. So there is seller customer service, there is a listing agreement, MLS or exclusive. Then individual identification, you see, it's next to the listing agreement. I always say, get your papers when you have the time all together. Get your individual, like a FIN track right away. Because after they refuse to sign it, you don't get paid.
FIN track.
Yeah, exactly, FIN track form, yeah. Everybody is happy the first time that they are listing the property or buying the property. It's easier for you to get anything. And this doesn't need a signature, just an ID, okay? Confirmation of cooperation representation. Well, that's also part of it. Agreement of purchase and sale, trade record, these are not that. Waiver, amendment, notice of fulfillment, mutual release. These are all the important ones. If the deal is going through, you don't need the mutual release. But if the deal is not going through, you need that. These are not optional, all necessary. And then second one, expanded forms. Working with a realtor or working with seller, it's the seller property information, seller property information statement, seller direction, re-offers, we need that. But what are we doing with the offer? Is there a multiple representation setting up, or there is no offer presentation? All right, residential market guide, okay, and then discovery disclosure, residential information checklist. So these are, I found very interesting and useful. That's why I printed this.
Not all of them are mandatory.
No mandatory, no. Only the listing agreement, and those are mandatory. The other ones are, and the same for the buyer working with a realtor, buyer representation or customer service. You must have one of them. You cannot say, I didn't know what was my relationship with the buyer. You must have either a buyer agency or a customer service. Because if you're giving a customer service to a buyer, you cannot have buyer agency agreement signed. If you're doing the other way around, then you got to make sure that you're doing your obligated duties to the buyer. You cannot have a customer service if you sign already. Now, some people do everything, they haven't got nothing. At the end of the day, when there is an offer presentation or whatever, they bring the buyer agency, so I'm not signing this. I never signed this. Customer service, it's only for this property. Okay, I signed this. but you provided client services. Why would you have customer service? You should have talked about it. I have limited obligations here. I have full obligations here. And that's written in the working with realtor. Most of us miss that. And then it becomes an issue because when RICO gets involved, for big problems, RICO sometimes closes an eye and an ear. For small issues, you get punished like big time. We have a case right now, it will cost the agent approximately $8,000 and VVM maybe $3,000. And it could have been avoided just with a single explanation. Okay, it's a commercial issue. He is lucky if he gets away with $8,000. They are trying to work out something. So,
What's the issue?
pardon?
What's the issue?
The issue is a private issue. It's between buyers and it's a dual agency, but he didn't provide proper dual agency or multiple representation to both parties. That's a gray line. Very soon we might lose that opportunity anyways.
Customer service.
Yes,
and,
yes, yes,
agency, not agency,
yes,
agency.
yes, buyer agency and stuff like that. And on the confirmation of cooperation and representation, check marks are totally different. And yet what he provided is totally different, okay? If I am telling you this coffee contains little bit of milk and sugar and it's black, that means I didn't do my job properly. Okay, so you go back to Tim Horton and say what the hell you're doing. You know, I come back because you told me regular. Now you give me black coffee. So this is a little bit bigger than that issue. Okay, so $8,000-9,000, and if everything went okay, you know how much he was going to make? $2,500. It's a lease, not even a buy.
Oh my God.
So instead of $2,500 income, we might be losing $11,000. So paperwork is important. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how you do your job. But in real estate, paperwork is number one. You don't have it, good luck. And you cannot fabricate because you get caught. You cannot try to put something in between afterwards. You know, they know they are not.